Hey everybody! The fingerprints of humanity are etched across nearly every corner of our planet. Once upon a time, Earth was shaped only by the forces of nature, wind, water, and time. But today, bulldozers, pipelines, and mega projects do most of the carving. In this video, we'll explore 6 shocking places that reveal the true impact of humans on our planet. Some are hauntingly beautiful, others are terrifying warnings of what's to come. Let's dive in. Number 1. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Can you believe it? Hidden in the heart of the Pacific Ocean lies a massive island of trash that's twice the size of Texas. But here's the terrifying truth. It's not an island you can see with your eyes. It's an invisible nightmare, slowly consuming the ocean. In the endless blue where we think only waves and wind exist, lurks one of humanity's darkest secrets. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch, spanning a staggering 1.6 million square kilometers. But the scariest part is this: it doesn't float like a giant raft of garbage. Instead, it's a swirling vortex of microplastics, suspended in the water itself. From above you'd see nothing but blue sea, yet a single cup of water taken from here could contain thousands of plastic fragments. And these fragments don't just stay in the ocean. They creep into fish, shrimp, and even salt, making their way straight into our bodies. Did you know? Scientists have already found microplastics in human blood and lungs. That means every time we eat seafood, sprinkle salt, or even drink water, we're swallowing the very trash we threw away. This is no longer just an environmental disaster, it's becoming a global health crisis. And the garbage patch isn't standing still. It's trapped within a massive ocean gyre, a slow-moving whirlpool that pulls in trash from across the Pacific. Every single day, more plastic is dragged in, making it grow even larger. Organizations like the Ocean Cleanup are fighting to remove it. But experts agree, there's only one true solution. Stop the 8 million tons of plastic that pour into the ocean every year. And here's the most haunting part. Satellites don't capture a floating island of trash. Instead, they detect strange reflections on the ocean's surface, where sunlight bounces differently off the sea of plastic. On data maps, it appears as swirling circles, like humanity's ghostly signature etched across the ocean. It keeps growing, it keeps spreading, and it has become the clearest mirror of our neglect. Number 2, the Amazon deforestation zones in Brazil. Can you believe it? The lungs of the earth, the mighty Amazon rainforest, stretching over 5.5 million square kilometers, is slowly collapsing before our very eyes. From above, the sight is haunting. Endless green torn apart by unnatural straight lines, black burn scars left by fires, and pale rectangles of farmland replacing one of the richest ecosystems on the planet. In Brazil alone, between 1985 and 2020, more than 780,000 square kilometers of forest vanished, an area larger than the entire state of Texas. And what drives this destruction? Deforestation, illegal mining, expanding agriculture, and humanity's insatiable hunger for beef and soy. But the tragedy isn't only about jaguars, poison dart frogs, or millions of insects and birds losing their home. Every tree cut releases tons of stored carbon, accelerating climate change. In some places, the Amazon has already shifted from being a carbon sink to a carbon source, emitting more CO2 than it absorbs. Scientists warn, the Amazon is nearing a tipping point, a moment when the rainforest could collapse into dry savanna. If that happens, weather patterns across South America and even the entire world may change forever. Seen from satellites, the Amazon looks like a living body being scarred and punctured piece by piece, as green expanses give way to wounds of farmland and fire. The image is chilling. We are watching the lungs of our planet being carved away, one breath at a time. Number 3. The tar sands of Alberta, Canada. Can you believe it? Hidden within Canada's vast green forests lies a scar so massive it can be seen from space, one of the most controversial industrial projects on Earth, the Athabasca oil sands, better known as the tar sands. Spanning more than 140,000 square kilometers, this region is not just a source of oil, it's an environmental nightmare in motion. To extract a substance called bitumen, a thick, sticky form of oil, companies must choose between two methods, and both are devastating. The first is open-pit mining. Enormous swaths of forest are clear-cut, the soil stripped away, and the oily sand dug out with machines so massive a house could fit inside their trucks. The sand is then blasted with water and chemicals to separate the oil. What's left behind? A wasteland of toxic tailing ponds, black, poisonous lakes filled with heavy metals and hydrocarbons. The second is in situ steam extraction, less visible on the surface, but even dirtier. Superheated steam is pumped underground to melt the bitumen so it can be drawn to the surface. This process devours natural gas and water, producing oil with a carbon footprint up to 20% higher than conventional crude. Supporters argue the tar sands fuel Canada's economy, employing tens of thousands and generating billions. But environmentalists warn, the destruction is irreversible. From above, the scene is chilling. Where there was once endless forest, there are now gaping pits, pale roads, and black lakes. Smokestacks rise over processing plants, while the scars of roads and pipelines spread like veins etched across the Earth's skin. This is the true cost of energy, wounds carved deep into the planet that may never heal. Number 4. The oil fields of the Niger Delta, Nigeria. Imagine a place once called a green paradise, where mangrove forests, winding rivers, and thriving wetlands stretched endlessly across the horizon. Today, that paradise has been twisted into a black nightmare. This is the Niger Delta, a land that once flourished, but now stands as a grim symbol of environmental destruction and human greed. For decades, oil giants like Shell and Chevron have pulled billions of barrels of crude from beneath this soil. But what they left behind wasn't prosperity. It was toxic waters, poisoned skies, and shattered communities. The most terrifying truth? Over 2 million barrels of oil have spilled into the environment, the equivalent of a Deepwater Horizon disaster, every single year. Creeks now flow black. Marshes that once teemed with fish and birds have turned into silent, lifeless graveyards. And the nightmare isn't just ecological, it's human. The Niger Delta has become a land of violence and blood. Pipelines are attacked, oil workers kidnapped, militias clash with the military, and ordinary people are caught in the crossfire. In 1995, the execution of a writer and activist who dared to stand against Shell shook the entire world. Despite international outrage, cleanup efforts remain painfully slow. A UN report warned it could take 30 years or more to restore the most damaged areas, if it's even possible at all. From above, the Niger Delta still looks like a sprawling network of rivers and wetlands, but the scars are undeniable. Dark oil slicks shimmer across the water like broken glass. Gas flares burn, bright white scars on nighttime satellite images stretching for kilometers. Today, the delta looks less like an ecosystem and more like a wounded organism, bleeding black, choking on smoke, and crying out for balance. Number 5. The Salton Sea, California. In the barren deserts of Southern California, where the San Andreas Fault cuts across the land like a giant scar, lies a lake that from a distance looks like a shimmering oasis. But step closer and you'll see the truth. It's not paradise. It's a slow-motion nightmare. The Salton Sea was never meant to exist. It was born in 1905 from human error, when engineers diverting the Colorado River lost control. The river burst through a fragile levee and flooded the desert basin for nearly 2 years, creating California's largest inland lake. What began as an accident soon became a curse. At its peak, the sea stretched nearly 1,000 square kilometers, alive with fish, flocks of birds, and tourists. But with no outlet, every drop of water lost to evaporation left behind salt, fertilizers, pesticides, and heavy metals. Over the decades, the salinity climbed to twice that of the ocean. Fish began to die en masse. Birds fell from the sky in sickening waves, and when the waterline receded, it revealed a deadly secret: sediments laced with arsenic, selenium, and agricultural toxins. The desert winds carried that poison into the air. Tens of thousands of residents breathed it in every day. Children living near the Salton Sea now suffer some of the highest asthma rates in Florida. Officials have announced a 10-year plan to suppress dust and restore habitat. But scientists warn it's nothing more than a bandage on a gaping wound. The sea continues to shrink. The poison continues to spread. Once thriving shoreline towns like Bombay Beach are now ghost towns, transformed into eerie stages for outsider art and film crews, a real-world dystopia rising from the ruins. From above, the deep blues of decades past have faded. In their place, gray-white scars of salt and long trails of toxic dust sweeping across the valley. The Salton Sea is no longer a lake. It is no longer a desert. It is a scar, unhealed, expanding, and forever marking the landscape with humanity's mistake. Number 6. The dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico. Imagine a sea once alive with fish, shrimp, and endless abundance, now turned into a silent desert beneath the waves. No movement, no sound, no life, only a cold, suffocating void. Would you dare dive into such waters? Every summer, the Gulf of Mexico gives birth to a monstrous scar, a dead zone so vast it can stretch over 22,000 square kilometers, larger than entire countries. But what could possibly kill an ocean this big? The answer: us. From the heart of America, the Mississippi River carries a toxic burden. Fertilizers, animal waste, sewage, all swept downstream from farms and cities across nearly 40% of the United States. When it spills into the Gulf, it sparks explosions of algae that seem harmless at first. But when these blooms die, they sink, and in their decay, they consume the very thing all life depends on: oxygen. Without oxygen, the Gulf begins to choke. Fish flee, shellfish suffocate, entire ecosystems collapse in a slow, silent agony. Picture standing on a boat above the dead zone. The water looks the same, but beneath you lies a graveyard. Can you imagine that silence?